with Deputy Director Colleen Melone to talk about one of our services, Libby. So, hi Colleen.
Hey Kelly.
All right, so let's talk about Libby. I feel like a lot of people know it's where you can borrow ebooks and audiobooks, but is there something about Libby that might surprise people, something most users don't realize?
I think the biggest thing about Libby that a lot of our patrons don't realize is that Libby is part of a consortium. So it's not just Lincolnwood's collection. We've partnered with over 150 other libraries, and not just public libraries, school libraries, medical libraries, university libraries, a whole bunch of different types. We've all partnered together to pool our money, pool our resources to create an even bigger collection. So I think people probably don't realize that there's actually over 80,000 people using Libby.
So that's really interesting. I didn't know that, but does that mean that I am competing with thousands of people every time I want to borrow a book?
Not necessarily. So in addition to partnering with this consortium, the Digital Library of Illinois, we, Lincolnwood, and every library in that consortium also gets to curate a special collection. So we pay a small fee to be part of the consortium, but then the majority of the money our library budgets for Libby only goes to titles that are only available for Lincolnwood residents.
Oh, that's great. And that makes a lot of sense. So here's something I've always wondered. Sometimes the app tells me a book is not going to be available for 6 weeks, but then I put a hold on it and suddenly it's ready in a few days. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so kind of how we talked about how many libraries are involved and that there's this giant collection, but then there's all of these smaller special collections that each library curates. It's too much information for Libby to kind of accurately calculate while you're scrolling for every single book. So the best way for it to find out what your actual wait time is to go ahead and click place hold. And when you click hold, it actually then runs the full algorithm based on your barcode, who your home library is, how the copies are sorted, and then it can give you an accurate wait time.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So let's say I place a hold and the wait list looks really long. Is there anything the library can actually do, or am I just stuck?
Absolutely. So once you place that hold, those titles then curate onto a list that our Libby purchasers, and that's me, can look at. So when we use that special funds where we said it only goes to Lincolnwood titles, we actually only spend that money on books that Lincolnwood residents have said they're interested in. Because we don't want to risk spending money on something someone's not interested in reading right now. So when you place that hold, that also is telling me, hey, maybe we want extra copies of this book to speed it up. So what I can do is I see all those holds people have placed. I obviously start with the books with the most holds, but actually every time I go through that whole list, which is over 800 holds typically, and we try to then, with the money we have for that month, best spend it on titles to speed up times. So first, your wait time isn't accurate till you place hold. Then even once you place hold, that wait time might suddenly go, it's available the next day, because we've seen you're interested and we've been able, based on pricing and different things like that, to get extra copies. So even if it seems like a really, really long time after you click place hold, don't delete your hold, leave it on there, because that lets me know that there's interest, and that's where we put our money behind those books.
Okay, got it. So here's the big question then. Couldn't you just buy a book that every Lincolnwood reader is waiting for?
I really wish we could, and we have done so much the last few years to try to increase the number of books we're providing. But a lot of it comes down to publishers. So Libby doesn't decide how to sell us the books, actually. Each publisher gets to choose what method or model, I guess you could say, that they're offering for pricing. And so some of these models are very, very expensive, and so we have to have a high amount of interest to offset that cost. Whereas there's other publishers who are kind of, I would argue, more in line with how libraries purchase things and understand how our funding works, and they've adapted purchasing models that allow us to increase how many books we provide because they've made them cheaper for us. So I wish I could buy every single one. You know, as I said, about every month we typically have over 800 holds placed just by Lincolnwood residents. The cheapest we can typically buy a book is $5, so you multiply 800 by $5. That's a lot of money each month that unfortunately, you know, we wish we could buy every single one, but we do have to pick and choose.
Sure.
So what we look at is we look at what books are going to have the biggest wait times in order to try to minimize those wait times. what books have the most holds, in that we guarantee they're going to have higher checkouts once we buy them. And then we also look at difficulty of accessing the titles. Some titles just aren't available anywhere else, and that big consortium hasn't bought a copy, so that's where we might go ahead and then buy it because there's no other way for our patron to access it.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So, speaking of borrowing, I noticed that ebooks are due back in 14 days, but when a physical book is checked out, I get 21 days. Why is there a difference?
Absolutely. So this goes back to part of that consortium. So the default is set to 14 days by our consortium. I wish I could change it, but that's what the default is. But in Libby, patrons actually get to choose if they want to check out the books for 7, 14, or 21 days. And we're going to include some little information for people to see how to change that. But I recommend that when you go check out the book, you change it to 21 days, and you always check it out for 21 days. It's a little bit kind of complicated. Won't go into the mess of it, but you are saving the library money if you check out that book for the full 21 days. So we highly encourage everyone to check out every book they borrow on Libby for its full 21 days.
Okay.
You can always return it early, but that's our recommendation.
Okay, that's great. One last thing. So I checked out a book once, but it wouldn't download onto my Kindle. What's up with that?
Yes, so a lot of people who use Libby use it with their Kindles, but a lot of people don't. So Libby actually provides books in a few different formats. You know, think about how you have a PDF or a Word document. The same things exist for ebooks. So not every single ebook has been formatted for Kindles. So if you only exclusively want things you can put on your Kindle, there's a way you can filter it to only show you those. You're also, when you're checking out the book, there's a way you can see if it's available for Kindle.
Okay.
But that's the basic comment. It's a format the same way you have different file formats on computers.
Okay, great. So before we wrap up, what is your favorite feature in Libby? Something you think everyone should know about?
Oh my goodness. My favorite feature in Libby is that for audiobooks, it's really good at remembering my place. And sometimes maybe life gets busy and I don't finish the audiobook and I don't come back to it. You know, it gets returned and I'm not ready to finish it till like a month or two later. When I go to check it back out again, Libby knows where I left off in that audiobook and picks me right back up where I left off. So that's the feature I like about it.
I did not know that. That's great. So thank you for breaking this down. I think a lot of people are going to feel a lot more comfortable and confident in using Libby. So thank you.
You're welcome. I love chatting about it.
Yeah, great.